The bulldozer stopped when they saw what was buried under my fence. Karen's smile cracked as the engine died, neighbors recording, her voice suddenly small. 30 seconds earlier, she had called me powerless, waving HOA papers like weapons, promising fines, lawsuits, and public embarrassment. I stood barefoot in my yard, holding one envelope that could end her career, her authority, and her perfect image. If you love powerful stories, you don't want to miss this. But before we continue, tell us where you are watching from. It makes us happy to see how far our stories travel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Karen had scheduled demolition at sunrise, claiming my fence violated community harmony. She arrived with security, a contractor, and dramatic confidence. What she didn't know? I had spent 3 months documenting everything, every threatening email, every illegal fee, every racist coded neighborhood standards comment she thought was private. When the bulldozer claw touched my fence, I handed the operator a cease notice stamped by the county and a flash drive labeled HOA internal recordings. Karen laughed, loud, cruel. Then the police cruiser pulled in. The officer asked her why HOA funds paid her brother's company double market price for emergency landscaping. The crowd gasped. Karen turned pale. Then her phone buzzed nonstop. Board members resigning, residents demanding audits, contractors refusing work. I didn't yell. I just said, "You should have read page 47," because page 47 proved she approved everything herself. And Karen realized she lost everything completely. Karen tried to recover fast. She straightened her blazer, forced a laugh, and told everyone this was a simple misunderstanding. But the officer didn't leave. Instead, another county vehicle pulled up behind him, then another. The morning air shifted from neighborhood gossip to full public spectacle. Residents stepped out onto their porches like it was the finale of a long-running drama. Phones were out, cameras rolling. Karen hated attention unless she controlled it. The county inspector walked straight to me first, shook my hand, then turned to Karen and asked, "Ma'am, did you authorize structural interference on protected boundary property?" She froze. That pause, it was louder than any confession. Then the contractor spoke up, nervous, sweating. He said Karen personally rushed the job, paid a priority bonus, and told them to start before sunrise to avoid resistance. Someone in the crowd laughed, not loud, just enough to sting. Karen snapped at him to be quiet. Wrong move, because the inspector immediately asked why HOA emergency funds were used for non-emergency private disputes. Then he asked why multiple residents filed complaints about selective enforcement, all targeting the same 3 households, mine included. Karen's voice got sharper, higher. She started blaming miscommunication, then blamed the board, then blamed residents for provoking her. That's when Sweet Karma showed up wearing a delivery uniform. A courier walked up asking for Karen to sign for a certified package. She signed, annoyed, then opened it. State Ethics Review Notice. Mandatory financial audit, temporary suspension pending investigation. The silence after that was beautiful. Birds chirping, wind moving through trees, neighbors whispering. Karen looked at me like I set the whole universe against her. I just adjusted my fence post and said, "You really should have left my property alone." And for the first time, Karen had no speech, no authority, no crowd on her side, only consequences standing in daylight. Karen didn't go quietly. People like her never do. By noon, she was back, not with a bulldozer this time, but with a lawyer, oversized sunglasses, and the kind of fake calm that screams panic. She tried walking through the neighborhood like nothing happened, like the morning humiliation was just a rumor that would fade if she stayed confident enough. It didn't work, because by then, the HOA emergency meeting had already been called, and the community hall, packed. I sat in the third row, relaxed, sipping bottled water while Karen took the front table like she still owned it. She started talking fast, legal words, policy words, blaming hostile residents, claiming she was protecting property values. Then the new interim board chair cleared his throat and asked her one question. "Did you or did you not use HOA funds for personal retaliation?" The projector turned on behind her. Email screenshots, payment transfers, voice note transcripts. Her voice, clear as day, saying, "Make his life uncomfortable. He'll sell and leave." The room turned ice cold. Karen tried laughing it off, said it was sarcasm, said it was stress, said everyone was overreacting. Then the treasurer stood up and said the HOA account was nearly drained. That's when residents stopped being shocked and started being angry. One older neighbor stood and said Karen fined her for a mailbox color violation. Another said Karen blocked repair approvals for months. One by one, people stood like a wave finally crashing. Karen kept talking, but nobody was listening anymore. By the time the vote happened, it wasn't even close. Removal, immediate. Karen stood there, staring at the room she used to control, and nobody looked away anymore, only watched her fall. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Karen didn't speak after the vote. She just gathered her papers slowly, like if she moved carefully enough, reality might rewind itself. The same neighbors she used to fine, threaten, and intimidate now watched in complete silence. No sympathy, no rescue, just truth finally catching up. Outside, the sun was brighter than it had any right to be. The county notice was already taped to the HOA office door by evening. Temporary management. Full audit. Resident protection review. Everything Karen built on fear was now under a microscope. And then came the final twist. 2 weeks later, the investigation report went public. Not only had Karen misused HOA funds, she had been quietly overcharging residents for administrative processing and routing it through shell vendor contracts linked to her relatives. It wasn't just power abuse. It was fraud. Charges were filed, civil lawsuits followed. The contractor she pressured testified. Former board members turned on her to save themselves. And my fence? The county officially declared it fully compliant, historically documented, and now legally protected from HOA interference. They even sent an apology letter. The neighborhood changed after that. New board, transparent rules, community meetings that actually sounded like community. One evening while watering my lawn, a neighbor laughed and said, "All this over a fence." I smiled and said, "No, over control." Because Karen didn't lose over wood and nails. She lost because she thought intimidation was stronger than truth. And truth? It doesn't rush. It just arrives and stays. Please like, comment, and subscribe.